1 mile. That's all. And at that distance, it's not radiation that kills you first. Not heat. Not the magnetic field tearing your atoms apart. It's geometry. The literal shape of space, bent so severely around this object that your eyes, your instruments, your entire perception of reality breaks before your body does. This is what physics actually looks like. And in the next 9 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what you would see from 1 mile away, following the actual equations. Not artist impressions. Not colorful CGI built around the word extreme. The equations. By the end of this, you'll understand why every other simulation you've seen before has been showing you the wrong layer entirely. Here's my thesis, and I'll say it plainly, because I think it matters. Most science content about magnetars gets the order wrong. It leads with drama and buries the physics underneath. We do the opposite. I think that's the only honest way to do this. Some channels won't like that framing. That's fine. Now, what are you actually looking at? Your first instinct is to picture a star. Don't. A magnetar is roughly 20 kilometers in diameter, the size of a city. Its mass sits at about 1.4 times that of the Sun, formed from the collapse of a star somewhere between 10 and 25 times more massive. And that's the thing that breaks people the moment they actually sit with it. Something the size of Los Angeles. That outweighs the Sun. I call this the compression paradox. It's the reason every other physical property of this object stops making sense the moment you try to apply normal scale logic to it. Tablespoon of magnetar material, over 100 million tons. More than every skyscraper on Earth combined. In a spoon. I know what's forming in your head right now. Okay. Insanely dense. Like a neutron star. Basically a black hole. No. And honestly, getting that distinction right is the foundation of everything else in this video. So stay with me here. A black hole collapses past the point of no return. Past all known physics. A magnetar stops just before that threshold. Its physics at its absolute limit, but still operating. Still generating rules. Still producing effects you can calculate, simulate, and observe. The density isn't the danger. The density is just the beginning. What separates a magnetar from every other extreme object in the universe is its magnetic field. Roughly 10 to the 11th Tesla at the surface. 100 million times stronger than the most powerful magnet ever built. The strongest MRI machine in existence runs at 10 Tesla. That's already powerful enough to rip steel oxygen tanks across a room at lethal speed. A magnetar doesn't scale from that. It invalidates the comparison entirely. 10 Tesla and 10 to the 11th Tesla aren't different points on the same line. They're different categories of physics. That distinction is not semantic. It changes what the math looks like. Now hold on to one thing before we move forward. Magnetars rotate slowly. 2 to 10 seconds per rotation. Far slower than most neutron stars, which can spin up to 10 times per second. That detail isn't random. In about 4 minutes, it closes the most important loop in this whole simulation. But first, the part everyone misses. Here's where most science content about magnetars fails you. It leads with radiation. Extreme heat. The forces that would shred your body at the molecular level. All of that is true, but it's all wrong about order. Because at 1 mile from a magnetar, the first thing that breaks isn't your body. It's light. And if you don't understand what happens to light at this distance, you don't actually understand what you would see. That's not an exaggeration. It's the whole point of this simulation. Scientists confirmed a phenomenon called vacuum birefringence, with direct observational data published in 2025, where the vacuum of space, the literal emptiness between you and the star, changes how light behaves. I call this the vacuum lens effect. Here's what it means. Normally, light moves through vacuum at a constant speed in a perfectly straight line. Every physics textbook agrees on this. Every experiment ever run confirms it. But here, the magnetic field is so extreme it gives the vacuum optical properties. The vacuum stops being neutral. Different polarizations of light travel at different speeds through empty space. Parallel to the field, one speed. Perpendicular, another. Through nothing. Through void. I know it sounds like something I invented. Stay with me. When I first built this section of the simulation, I actually went back and reread the source paper twice because I was sure I'd misunderstood something. I hadn't. The vacuum really does this. Researchers measured phase-averaged polarization degrees of 65% at 2 keV, rising to nearly 80% at specific orientations. This isn't theoretical. This is observed data from X-ray telescopes pointing at a real magnetar. The question forming in your head is exactly the right one. Okay, but how visible is this? Light is still basically going straight, isn't it? No. At 1 mile from the surface, you are inside the vacuum lens effect. What your eyes receive isn't what's there. The light reaching you has been filtered, restructured, and split by the vacuum itself, before it ever touches your retina. You're not seeing a magnetar. You're seeing a physics-processed version of reality that has no equivalent anywhere else in the observable universe. But the vacuum lens effect is just the first layer. Let's go deeper. Layer 1. The shape of the sky. At this distance, gravity bending space itself is so extreme that light from behind the star curves completely around it. You don't see part of the magnetar. You see all of it. Simultaneously. A complete 360-degree wrap of its surface, folded into the space around you, like looking at the outside of a sphere from the inside. And behind that, the rest of the universe. Stars that are physically behind the object appear in front of you. Displaced. Duplicated. Smeared into arcs by gravitational lensing, so extreme that the word lensing barely covers what's happening. Your sky contains everything at once. And it still doesn't tell you the strangest part. Layer 2. The needle state. The magnetic field of a magnetar deforms the shape of atoms. Iron atoms at the surface, normally spherical clouds of electrons, soft, three-dimensional, are compressed by the field into elongated needles. Tight cylinders, perfectly aligned with the field lines. That's not a metaphor. The electron orbitals are physically reshaped. Those atoms are still iron, but they behave like a completely different material. The chemistry of life isn't just incompatible with this environment. It's geometrically impossible. Life's molecular machinery requires spherical orbital geometry. In the needle state, that geometry doesn't exist. So, can the surface even hold together? It can. Barely. And when it doesn't them, that's layer 3. Layer 3. The Starquake. The crystalline crust cracks. When it does, it shifts. Measured in centimeters. 1 centimeter of crust movement on Magnetar SGR 1806-20 released more energy than the Sun produces in 250,000 years. It registered at magnitude 23 on the Richter scale. The largest earthquake ever recorded on Earth peaked at magnitude 9. The Richter scale is logarithmic, so that gap isn't just large. It's past anything you can intuitively reach. This happened 50,000 light-years away. From half the galaxy away, a single pulse, lasting 1/10 of a second, increased ionization in Earth's ionosphere by 6 orders of magnitude. Detectable from instruments on the surface of a planet orbiting a completely different star. I've run this specific event through our simulation probably 100 times at this point, and I'll be honest with you, it still doesn't feel real to me. Not as a performance. I mean it. The numbers are right there in the papers, and something in my brain keeps rejecting them. 6 orders of magnitude. From half the Milky Way. If SGR 1806-20 had been within a few thousand light-years of Earth, this is not a conversation we would be having. That's what 1 mile from the source looks like. And now, what closes everything? You assumed the primary danger of being 1 mile from a magnetar was the radiation. It's not. You assumed it was the field pulling your atoms apart. It's not. Not first. The first thing that happens to you, before any of those forces reach full effect, is temporal shear. At this gravitational depth, time slows down for you, not as metaphor, not as thought experiment. Physically, measurably, your clock runs slower than a clock 1 million miles away. Your heartbeat is slower. Your neurons fire at a slower rate. You don't feel it, because you have no reference frame outside your own experience. But if you could communicate with someone at a safe distance, every second you experience, they experience slightly more. Time slowing down for you isn't something that happens to your instruments. It happens to you. You are stretched apart like taffy, not in space, but in time. Now the rotation closes. Magnetars spin slowly because the magnetic field acts as a continuous brake. The field radiates energy into space through the sheer act of existing, like a generator running with nothing connected, burning its own fuel just to sustain its own field. The active lifespan of a magnetar is around 10,000 years. After that, the strong magnetic fields decay. The vacuum lens effect disappears. Temporal shear drops. The X-ray emission stops. 10,000 years. One civilization's lifespan. In cosmic time, 1 heartbeat. And the Starquake, that centimeter of crust movement, that's the field destabilizing. The crystalline structure of the needle state failing as the magnetic configuration shifts. The energy has to go somewhere. It goes outward, at the speed of light, in every direction. You're 1 mile away when that happens. The geometry of space around you is already broken by the vacuum lens effect. Your time is already running slower through temporal shear. Your atoms are already being reshaped toward the needle state. And then the crust moves 1 centimeter. The math says one thing. Let me show you what that means. So, what would you actually see? You'd see a sky that contains the entire universe, wrapped and folded around a city-sized object that outweighs the sun. You'd see light restructured by the vacuum lens effect. Empty space that is no longer optically neutral. You'd see a surface of atoms in the needle state. Crystalline. Rigid. Geometrically incompatible with anything alive. You'd feel temporal shear, time running differently inside your own experience than for everyone watching from a distance. You'd be at the exact place where the math breaks down. And the math breaking down isn't a failure of physics. It's physics telling you it found its limit. Now, the other simulations, the ones showing you the wrong layer. They show you the drama, the glowing field lines, the explosive burst, the colorful CGI that looks like a screensaver someone labeled extreme physics. Here's my actual opinion on that. Generic CGI is not simulation. It's speculative art with a scientific label slapped on it. Our simulations follow the actual equations of physics. That distinction matters more than most channels want to admit, because admitting it means most of what you've seen is aesthetic, not science. I don't say that to be arrogant. I say it because the real physics is already stranger than anything aesthetic could produce. You don't need to dress it up. The drama of a magnetar lives in the math, in the vacuum having optical properties, in crystalline atoms failing at the crust level and releasing 250,000 years of solar output in 1/10 of a second, in time running at a different rate inside this field. That's what we simulate, not the glow, the math. One final thought. Estimates put the number of inactive magnetars in the Milky Way at around 30 million. Dead. Silent. City-sized. Scattered through our galaxy. Invisible. Cold. Carrying the geometry of spent fields inside them. Each one was once exactly this. Each one had, for 10,000 years, a neighborhood where the vacuum lens effect bent light through nothing, where atoms existed in the needle state, where a centimeter of crust movement could alter the chemistry of atmospheres half a galaxy away. And we will never visit any of them. But this is what physics actually looks like. The universe is not beautiful despite being violent. It's beautiful because the violence produced rules. And the rules, right at their breaking point, are the strangest, most precise, most breathtaking things we have ever found. What should I simulate next? Drop it in the comments.